Let's take a look at factoring some of these trinomials that have a number here in this first term in our A position. 3 times 7 is 21. I'm doing the AC method. I'm going to split that 21 up so that I get this 10 here in the middle. I'm thinking positive 3 and positive 7. Split up the middle. I like to go ahead and write down my 2 sets of parentheses for my answer. And then I'm going to group. I'm going to group the first 2 terms. What do they have in common? They have a 3x in common. Put that in the first parentheses. Look at the last 2. What do they have in common? They have a 7. Put that also in the first parentheses. Take the 3x out of the first 2 terms or the 7 out of the last 2 terms, and you should have the same thing left over. 7 goes into 7x x times. 7 goes into the 7 on the end 1 time. Problem number 17. 6 times 5 makes positive 30. The positive 30 tells me that the signs have got to be the same. The negative here in the middle kind of helps me to know that they're both going to be negative. 30 is going to be negative 15 and negative 2. Split the middle. Write down my 2 sets of parentheses. These first 2 terms have a 3 in common and an x in common. Put that in the first parentheses. These last 2 terms don't appear to have anything in common. Now, since we have a negative leading here, it's very important that you pull out a negative. If there's nothing in common, always remember you can factor out a 1. So I'm going to factor out a negative 1. 3x goes into the first term. 3x goes into the 6x squared, 2x. 3x goes into my negative 15, negative 5. 3x goes into the 15x, negative 5. Number 20. 3 times negative 70 is a massive negative 210. The negative 210 tells me that the signs are going to be different. One is going to be positive, one is going to be negative. Now, negative 210 is a large number, so we can go to our calculator and use that little technique I showed you where we said y equal to negative 210 divided by x. Don't look at the graph, but do look at your table and try to find the numbers that are going to give you this negative 11. So scrolling, I see right there. Can't circle it. I see positive 10 and negative 21. Positive 10, negative 21. 3x squared plus 10x minus 21x minus 7. These first 2 terms only have an x in common. These last 2 terms, we have a negative leading, have a 7 in common. X goes into my 3x squared, 3x. X goes into my positive 10x plus 10. Number 23. 3 times negative 25 is negative 75. The negative tells me that the signs are going to be different. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. In order to get a 10 in the middle, I'm thinking, use this calculator. Negative 75 divided by x. I'm thinking 5 and 15 in some way. So it's going to be a positive 5 and a negative 15. And sure enough, that gives me the negative 10 in the middle. 3x squared plus 5x minus 15x minus 25. 2 sets of parentheses. First 2 terms only have an x in common. Last 2 terms, you have a negative leading, have a 5 in common. X goes into my 3x squared, 3x. X goes into my plus 5x plus 5 times. Hey, have a nice day.